Whispers in the Shadows. Episode 3: The Haunting Truth. The house was deathly silent, save for the faint creak of old wood shifting under the weight of time. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor of her mother's room, staring at the fragile figure lying on the bed. Her mother's breathing was shallow, her chest rising and falling with a rhythm that felt borrowed. "I need you to wake up," Maya murmured, her voice breaking. "Please." Dottie's eyelids fluttered, but her gaze remained unfocused. She muttered something under her breath, barely audible. Maya leaned in closer. "Did you say?" Dottie's hand twitched, her fingers curling into the sheets. "The door. The door must stay closed," she whispered hoarsely. Maya's heart sank. "What door, Mom? You have to tell me what's happening." The silence that followed was broken by a sharp knock at the front door. Maya flinched, her nerves already stretched thin. She cast one last glance at her mother before hurrying out of the room. Caleb stood on the porch, his hands shoved deep into his coat pockets. His expression was grim. "You look worse than yesterday," he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Thanks for noticing," Maya muttered, closing the door behind him. She led him into the kitchen, where the leather-bound book still lay open on the table. Caleb eyed it warily, his lips pressing into a thin line. "Anything new?" he asked. "She woke up for a bit," Maya said. "She kept talking about a door. Something about keeping it closed." Caleb frowned, flipping through the book. His fingers stopped on a page filled with jagged symbols and hastily scrawled notes. "This might explain it. Look, there's a passage here about the Watcher and something called the Veil." "What's the Veil?" He shook his head. "Not sure, but if the Watcher is guarding it, I'm guessing it's bad news." Maya rubbed her temples, exhaustion clawing at her. "So, what? We find this veil and destroy it?" Caleb's expression darkened. "It's not that simple. If the veil is what I think it is, breaking it could unleash something a lot worse." Night fell quickly, wrapping the house in shadows. Maya and Caleb huddled in the living room, the book between them. A small fire burned in the hearth, its warmth doing little to ease the growing tension. "Do you hear that?" Caleb asked suddenly, his voice low. Maya tilted her head, straining to listen. At first, there was nothing. Then, faintly, the whispers began. They came from the walls, the floors, the air itself. Maya's stomach twisted. "It's back." The whispers grew louder, circling them like unseen predators. Caleb grabbed the flashlight on the table, clicking it on. The beam cut through the darkness, but the whispers persisted. "Maya," he said, his voice tight. She turned to him, her eyes wide. "The shadows," he said. "They're moving." A low, guttural sound reverberated through the room, and the whispers stopped. The silence was suffocating. Then, from the corner of the room, a figure emerged. The Watcher. It was taller than Maya remembered, its shadowy form shifting and pulsating like smoke. Its glowing eyes locked onto her, unblinking. "Maya," it said, its voice a deep rumble that seemed to vibrate through the walls. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. "You're the key," the Watcher continued. "The door must open." "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "I'm not doing this." The Watcher tilted its head, as if amused. "You have no choice." Before Caleb could react, the Watcher reached out, its shadowy hand extending toward Maya. Caleb grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "Run," he shouted. They bolted from the room, the whispers resuming their relentless chase. They stopped in the hallway, panting. The house was eerily silent again, but they knew the Watcher was still there, somewhere. "We can't keep running," Maya said, her voice shaking. "We have to fight it." Caleb nodded, though his expression was grim. "Then we need to figure out how. Fast." Maya's gaze drifted to the book still clutched in Caleb's hands. She didn't know how they were going to stop the Watcher or what it wanted, but one thing was certain. The answers lay somewhere in those pages, and she was running out of time to find them. Sound fades out to the low hum of whispers, growing louder before cutting abruptly to silence.